So, Michael, of course, today the movie we are reviewing is I Am Sam. And now here's the thing about I Am Sam. We are doing this movie, or reviewing it, even though it came out 20 years ago, even though it's not that well known. So for anybody listening, I just want to give them a bit of a taster of what this movie is about by playing clips of the trailer, so you'll be able to hear the audio. And you haven't seen the trailer either, have you, Michael?
No, I haven't, but I'm excited to.
Okay, so yeah, it's a great trailer. There's one incredible moment of editing in the trailer. So anyway, let's play this.
How can we be so
different?
Your teacher gave you a really hard book this time.
What's wrong with your father? Why does he act like a retard? He is. You're not like other daddies.
I'm sorry.
Daddy, I'm lucky. Nobody else's daddy ever comes to the park.
No one doubts that you love your daughter.
These shoes light up.
But your intellectual capacity is around that of a 7-year-old.
Okay, I just stopped there for 1 sec. So that's a great opening. And when the kid, by the way, when the kid calls Sean Penn a retard, you get there's this. They do this face of Sean Penn where he's like gaping and he's got like his mouth open. It's just incredible editing. But yeah, so that's the issue. That oh God, Sean Penn, he's having his kid taken away, as you can see from this brilliant piece of acting from him.
To remain in the home, and I order her detained.
Why isn't Lucy going home with me?
Why isn't Lucy going? Okay, so we're gonna just play the next bit, which features just the most incredible moment, and then that's it. That we're gonna end.
You think what they think. Sam can't take care of Lucy.
It doesn't matter what I think. It matters that we win.
It matters to me.
Isn't it true that you need much more than your daddy can give you?
All you need is love.
What makes you think you can raise
Here we
a
go.
7-year-old?
Here we go.
Every parent has those moments.
A 10-year-old.
Moments where the task is so unbelievably challenging
A 13-year-old.
that you feel retarded.
She'll be 6 years more advanced.
It's so funny.
There we go. Just that line is so hilarious, and we'll get onto it when we review it. But like intercut with the trailer, let's run it back. Let's run it back, DJ.
Yeah.
Has those moments.
A 10-year-old.
Moments where the task is so unbelievably challenging
A 13-year-old.
that you feel retarded.
She'll be 6 years.
Tickles me.
Oh, the edit! Oh my God! So yeah, there we go. There's a nice little taster. You ready, Michael?
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out in the near and distant past. We give them a couple of watches and evaluate them beyond first impressions. And this week we are, I thought we were done with our Oscar celebration, of course, of Marriage Story, but I'm sure this film must have been nominated for Best Picture 20 years ago when it came out. But we're celebrating its 20th anniversary, and that is the film I Am Sam. So Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about I Am Samuel?
Sure thing, Michael. And it's actually funny that you mentioned before that, mockingly, I think that this movie, is continuing our run of Oscar movies. I think that's something that we'll come back to later. But anyway, Michael, yes, I Am Sam. Stylized I Am Sam, all in lowercase, because we know the mentally challenged can't write in uppercase. I assume that's the reason. Is a 2001... Actually, you know what? I'm looking at the poster now, the way it's stylized. That is like an awful, awful poster for a movie.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I think I saw the poster. Wait, I'm going to look at it again.
Yeah, like, I don't know what the font is. The font is in, like, Calibra. Like, it's just such a basic font, like, all in lowercase. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, also, the I is too close to the, like, it's spaced wrong.
Yeah, it's, like, really close to Sean Penn and Michelle Pfeiffer's names at the top. Oh, I've just given away who's in this movie. Anyway, it's a 2001 American drama/melodrama. Oh, you see, it's a melodrama, Michael. Do you know what a melodrama is?
A drama that's melodramatic.
Yes, a dramatic work wherein the plot, which is typically sensational and designed to appeal strongly to the emotions, takes precedence over detailed characterization. Okay, yeah, that's sounds a bit insulting then if you call your movie a melodrama, but there you go.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess if somebody calls you melodramatic, it's not usually a good thing.
Yeah, but it's the same for drama, though. If someone calls it dramatic.
I know, yeah, that's true, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, melodramatic's like, oh yeah, this is a drama, but it's shit. That's what it's code for. Anyway, that's what it seems like. This film was co-written and directed by Jesse Nelson. Is that a male or a female person? Because if it's a female, well, no wonder No wonder, Michael, females aren't getting jobs in. Oh, yes, it is. She's a woman. So yeah, I mean, look, you want more female directors in Hollywood and female writers and producers, but then they go and produce things like I Am Sam. So I don't know. Maybe we're gonna have to stick with male people. Ain't that right, Michael?
Yeah, and I noticed that females haven't produced such classics as Joker.
Yeah,
Still
good point. Yeah, but they can redo Little Women for the 68th time.
Yeah.
Anyway, the movie I Am Sam stars Sean Penn as a father with an intellectual disability. Oh shit! That's for later. But no, yeah, obviously that's the premise. I think that's pretty clear from the cold open that we did and our jokes about it so far. The movie also stars Michelle Pfeiffer, Diane West, Dakota Fanning, Richard Schiff, Doug Hutchinson, Loretta Devine, and Laura Dern. The movie was released on December the 28th, 2001. In the United States, but of course, that's near the end of the year. It was actually properly released, I guess, nationwide on January the 25th, 2002. So this is a 2001 movie, but it qualified for the 2002 Oscars. Of course it did because it's a 2001 movie, but it was actually released in 2002. So it's an interesting why they decided to release it where they did. And we'll talk about the Oscars later. But there you go. That's funny to look back on. Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think it's going to be, Michael? What do you think it's?
I'm guessing. I mean, I don't think this could have won Best Picture. That seems weird. But maybe Sean Penn won Best Actor.
Okay.
Like that's what I could maybe see being the case.
Okay.
I don't think this would have won Best Picture overall. That would be ridiculous.
Okay. Well.
Oh, sorry, I don't mean won. I don't think it was nominated for Best Picture. And in fact, actually, also let me clarify. Sean Penn nominated for Best Actor.
Nominated for Best Actor. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Right. So the budget of this movie, Michael, is up for you to guess. So why don't you go ahead and do that?
Oh, goodness me. So, I mean, obviously, I think these were two quite big actors at the time, and that's like a generally quite significant thing. Obviously, this film wouldn't have been tremendously expensive to produce. I feel like I wish I could remember what I picked for Marriage Story, because I feel like maybe that would be a good thing to go off.
You said 25 million for Marriage Story, and the actual box office was 18 million.
Okay, because this time I was thinking about going for 15 million. That's what I was thinking. So I guess I'm thinking 15 million. So 15 million.
Yeah, it's actually 22.
Okay, yeah,
but not a bad guess. Not a bad guess. Yeah, I would have probably thought around that, especially in 2001. And what's with inflation? I don't know what that is, but yeah, I mean it's quite expensive for what it is, really.
Yeah.
And can you tell me what the box office was for this, Michael? How much did it make?
Oh, God. Well, as you've pointed out, it's not a film that was particularly successful. Oh, sorry, not a film that's particularly famous.
Yeah, not famous.
You were saying. Yeah, but then having said that, I mean, you kind of said that thing about how they re-released it around Oscar season, and I think you've kind of hinted that maybe it did have some Oscar buzz around it, so maybe that gave it a slight boost. But I don't think it could have made that. Surely it didn't make that much, because I don't really know about this film. Maybe it made... I mean, was it a big bomb? It could have been, but this would be a bomb, but only a very small bomb. 20 million?
Wow, Michael. I mean, I tried to help you with the Oscar buzz thing. I mean, I didn't, not specifically for the box office, to be honest, but yeah, it should have been a help. No, I mean, this movie...
Well, the highest I would have gone would have been like 40 million.
97.
Wow, okay, yeah, that's wow, 97.
Yeah.
That's almost
Look, things were different back in the day, man. Things were different. Right? You had random movie. You just go to the 1990s and then random movies gross like $350 million. It's crazy. And that was back in the 90s. I guess with inflation, of course, that would be even more today. So yeah. It's all pretty crazy, Michael. But nevertheless, regardless of how much it made at the box office, or whether it was nominated or not nominated for Oscars, can you tell me, Michael, whether you liked I Am Sam or not?
I did not like this film, obviously with the caveat that I did find a lot of it funny in an ironic way. But in terms of the overall quality I was able to detect in the film, I did not. There was none.
So you didn't like the quality of the film.
Yeah, I didn't like the quality.
You found parts ironically funny.
Yes.
Would you like to reveal to us which parts you found?
Well, I found the parts that were really stupid funny. No, I mean there were. It's kind of hard to go. I mean, obviously you covered some of them in the trailer. I mean, obviously there's Michelle Pfeiffer making a very impassioned speech about how sometimes we're all a little bit retarded.
Are we all?
That's a very powerful message.
Yep, yep.
And so, I mean, there are other examples, as I'm sure we will go through as we look at the plot. But I mean, even then, just from that trailer, you kind of can see it. What did you think,
Yeah,
Luke?
no, I love this movie. It's one of my favourite movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, did you wait? You hadn't seen it. I remember you hadn't seen it before you suggested we do it. Had you?
I can't. When did I suggest that we do it?
I can't think. I feel like I remember asking you, like, have you seen it? I feel like you said no. And obviously, sometimes you have had a situation where you've gone for films. I feel like recently, actually, you've been better off. Recently, the films you've gone for have been actually quite good, or rather, not necessarily good, but let's just say appropriate for an in-depth discussion.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Because this was because some movies got moved. That's why I decided to do I Am Sam.
No, yeah. I'm just saying, like, so occasionally. So obviously, the classic example is The Net, where we, it wasn't really like so bad it's good, and it also wasn't particularly entertaining either, and it just ended up being kind of boring. That's like the big example, and the one that,
no.
yeah. But this film was definitely, well, I assume it was everything you wanted it to be.
Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to say. Yeah, it's everything that I wanted it to be. I mean, look, I knew what was happening going in. I'd seen the trailer, and I was very happy with what I'd seen. And I mean, look, I don't think this movie is good, but there are some great moments and great storylines, and great deliveries and great performances. Really, performances which I'll never forget. From Sean Penn in particular, which we'll get into, making this a very memorable movie, and something again that is sometimes you watch a movie and it's all right, but then you forget about it the next day. I think it's hard to forget about a movie like this, to be honest with you. But anyway, let's get into nitpicks. Michael, how many do you have?
I've just got the one.
I've got 2 lit picks, so you go first. See if yeah, obviously you don't have what I have, but go on.
Yeah, so mine is, how can you get arrested for being bothered by a hooker? Basically, the scene I'm thinking about is that he's obviously just sat in a restaurant and a prostitute, a lady of the night, comes up to him and starts talking to him, and then some police show up and he gets arrested. And it's like, I'm sorry, do we live in a world where if a prostitute comes up to you and starts talking to you, you immediately have to be like, hey, get out of here, or else you're liable to get arrested for soliciting sex? I just thought, it would have made like, and the thing is, they could have made it just like make more sense if it was like she said, hey, do you want to come for a walk with me or something? And then at least he would have been like walking along with her. But he's just sat at his like table, not doing anything, and she's just walking up talking to him, and somehow he ends up getting arrested for soliciting sex. I just thought, again, I can understand it could have happened. I'm not denying it's possible that he could have said something that was maybe suspicious, but I just think they could have easily made it so it was slightly more believable by having him engage with her a bit more.
I mean, yeah, I think that's... I mean, maybe that's just America. Maybe that's just America. I don't know. I mean, I was more focused on not the fact that it happened, like the writing too. Even if that can actually happen, it's just such a manufactured situation.
I know, yeah, it's funny.
Okay, I'll tell you, but yeah. Anyway, so it's time for me, Michael, to give you my 2 lit picks. Do you want to hear them?
Yes, I do, Luke.
Okay, so first up, Kramer versus Kramer is mentioned in this movie. And of course, last week, Kramer versus Kramer was also mentioned in our review when discussing Marriage Story. And I thought I was going to leave it at that, but of course Laura Dern shows up in this movie, just like she did last week. And, she's dealing with the custody of a child too. A young child who's around 7 or 8. And so I'm looking at all this and I'm thinking, wow, you know what? It was really good to do I Am Sam right after Marriage Story.
No, yeah. I noticed Laura Dern and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I didn't.
Similar themes.
Yeah, I didn't put together just how incredible it is.
Yeah. You got this guy, no more context needed, trying to get his kid back, and fighting the court system to do it. Marriage Story, I Am Sam, Kramer versus Kramer, the classics.
But they're on 2 ends of the spectrum, because obviously Adam Driver won the Genius Grant, and this guy could win the opposite to that.
The random award. It's like the Raspberry Award, just the Golden Raspberry, just like the dumbest guy.
But
It's just, oh god. I'm not sure that would be a viable award.
I mean, to be fair, when you think about it, in many ways, the past was more progressive, because being the village idiot was a thing you can actually do. So I feel like maybe we could bring that back, and we could kind of have like the village idiot grant, where it's like you can just be a local moron and get paid money for it.
Yeah, I mean, he's not. Okay, like he's a bit more than like...
He can't be a villain.
I don't know, he feels like a bit more than just like, oh, look, that's the local moron. He's like... She's got a bit... some bigger problems than that has Sean Penn. But anyway, next lit pick. I reckon Sean Penn, as Sam, of course, in this movie, could become a very successful, prominent conservative commentator on Fox News, given how much he likes Dr. Seuss. You know, he's reading the
Yeah. I was actually thinking that, with the green eggs and ham. Yeah,
exactly.
Because I was thinking about like kind of reading. I was like reading that book to little kids. And I was like, it's kind of, it's obviously nonsensical, and I was thinking it's kind of a funny thing that you like read that to kids, just like the story that makes complete no sense. And I was like, wait a minute, Ted Cruz did that.
Well, not just Ted Cruz. Have you not heard about the controversy?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, and also
Wow.
sorry. Yeah, Dr. Seuss is cancelled. Yeah, I do remember that.
And just completely blank that from your mind. See, now I can say that I can insult you by saying Sean Penn, and I don't have to call you the R word.
Yeah. Although to be fair, he doesn't. It's not that he's got bad memory. I mean, probably does have bad memory.
Yeah.
He's often late to things.
Probably he has bad memory. Probably.
Yeah. What if he was retarded, but he had perfect memory recall? That would be an interesting movie.
I mean, people are like that guy who's autistic.
Oh exactly. Yeah, that's like that's the thing.
That is a concept that exists. Yeah. That's Rain Man. That's what that is. That movie. That's fucking Dustin Hoffman in Rain Man.
I can't believe I accidentally invented autism.
Wouldn't it be great if people lacked social skills and were a bit dumb, but they could remember everything? Wow, what a concept!
And they like knew loads of very specific things.
Yeah,
but also they had very minute details that they were obsessed over as well. Wouldn't that be weird?
Yeah, and they really like trains. Anyway,
more like Train Man.
So that was the original title, Train Man. But they had a typo. And it's like Rain Man. It's like, why the fuck why did we call this movie Rain Man? Oh, let's make up a bullshit story about Tom Cruise. Oh, what was it? What was it from that movie? It's like Tom Cruise. Oh yeah, Raymond. That's it. Yeah, because he's called Raymond. The brother's called Raymond. So Tom Cruise as a kid says Rain Man, and that's why he says Rain Man. That's a great movie, and that hopefully one day we will review. Dylan really likes it, by the way, just to let you know. He's a fan of that movie.
Oh yeah, okay.
Anyway, so we'll get into I Am Sam now, and the plot is that Sean Penn is a father with an intellectual disability. I don't know what that intellectual disability is, but it's something. It's something, a learning disability, as it's also known. I just use the phrase mentally challenged.
I like to say differently abled.
No, because that's you could be differently able than just like being in a wheelchair. That doesn't mean it's the same as Sean Penn. Like there's, it's got to, you got to, and that's why I say mentally challenged is good, because it's specifically talking about their, or intellectual disability. It's like talking about their mental, issue. Anyway, so Dakota Fanning. As his bright and inquisitive daughter. Dakota Fanning's first role this was, and Michelle Pfeiffer as his lawyer. So basically Nelson and co-writer Christine Johnson researched the issues facing adults with intellectual disabilities by visiting non-profit organisations, LA Goal, and subsequently cast two actors with disabilities, Brad Silverman and Joe Rosenberg, in key roles. The film's title is derived from the opening lines, I am Sam, Sam I Am, of the book Green Eggs and Ham, which is read in the movie. And just the next line. The film received negative reviews from critics. Yes, but of course, the film launched the career of child actress Dakota Fanning, and she became the youngest actress ever to be nominated for a Screen Actors Guild Award. So there you go. There's something interesting. Anyway, Michael, so I am Sam. I am Sam. Let's get into the concept. So, a mentally challenged individual, Sam, played by Sean Penn, has to raise a baby on his own. What a concept! Imagine all the hilarious stuff that he could get up to, and how challenging could he find it if someone wants to take that baby away from him. I don't know why this plot was necessary. I mean, we'll get into it when talking about if Sean Penn was right to have custody of his kid or not. We'll get into that later. It's an interesting concept for sure. And of course, I asked you to watch this movie, and I asked you to watch it going in blind. Of course, I asked you to watch this movie naturally because we're going to review it. But I asked you to watch it without researching anything. So, but tell me about your experience of watching it for the first time.
Yeah. That's a good point. So, going into it, I mean, I think not immediately, quite quickly, it became clear to me that obviously he was, or like you said, intellectually handicapped. And then obviously, I picked up it was going to be about him raising his kid, and that was all coming in place. And the kind of the. At one point, I did kind of not really know where it was going, which was, or had a wrong idea of where it was going, which was when you have the kid who doesn't appear like at all after he like appears in two scenes. There's a kid who's a bit of a, you know, he's a bit of a meanie, I think is the best way to describe him. And obviously you see him in kind of one scene. Well, I think you see him
the
like
friend of
3
Dakota
scenes.
Fanning.
But yeah. And at first he's like, you know, is your dad retarded? He doesn't talk like that at all. And then obviously he's you know being like, hey, you retard, she thinks that she's adopted, so you're a dickhead, aren't you? And then he, you know, punches the kid in the face, if I remember correctly. The thing is, like, after that, the kid literally doesn't appear at all. But at first I was thinking, like, okay, so this is basically going to be sort of more of a emotionally driven story about kind of her, the difficulty she feels of like knowing that her dad is basically less intelligent than she is, and kind of like the secondhand embarrassment she can sometimes feel. Like, that's kind of where I thought the story was going, and I thought it was basically going to continue you know, with that, like basically dealing with that kind of emotional disconnect between the two characters. And to be honest, actually, I was kind of on board with it. Like, I kind of liked that idea, especially when I'm talking about, like, you know, your daughter is you know, however old she is,
8 years old.
She's 8 years old. Yeah. So basically, you're gonna, and you know, like, what happens when she's 13, and basically like introducing that idea. I thought that was kind of like an interesting idea.
Well, I don't know about that.
But then obviously, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was kind of, I guess it was an interesting. Well, as a premise, I was like, I can understand how at least the daughter's kind of. I mean, to be fair, it would have been relying a lot on Dakota Fanning as like an actress, you know, her conflict. But okay, obviously the thing is, then it turns into a massive custody battle, and you know that kind of, for me, I wasn't expecting that to be kind of where it went.
Well, to me, that direction just seems so pointless. It's like,
yeah, that's kind of how I felt.
Talented had to fight for his kid. It's like, I mean, I don't know, how often does this happen? I don't know. It's like, it feels like kind of like a, why make this movie? Like, just why? That's, you know, it doesn't explore the relationship between. I mean, it kind of does, but not really. Between
well, the thing is, she's kind of more absent, by design in a way, more absent towards the end of the film.
So he doesn't explore the relationship really between the mentally challenged individual and his daughter, who's, you know, smart, smarter than he is. It's not like that. It's just like, will he get his kid? And it's just like, I don't know how, if it's, I don't know the point of this. Like, again, I don't think this happens this often. Like, this is a problem in society. So I don't know why you'd come up with an idea like this and make a movie out of it. Just. Yeah, I'd assume that in like we as a society probably do have like a way of dealing with this, like, because I assume again we'll get into that later.
Mentally,
what the best way to deal with it is. But anyway, so let's get into the actual plot now. So that's I guess the concept. So let's go through what happens within the movie of I Am Sam. So first off, of course, Sean Penn gets left with a baby. And of course, the mother, you know, leaves him at a bus stop with her, and you know he has to go look after the baby by himself. And for some reason, while talking about this first section, I think my feelings on who's right, who's wrong in the court case later on are going to become pretty clear. But for some reason, Sean Penn does not decide to call anyone, even though he is aware that he is a mentally handicapped individual. Like, he has that self-awareness, he knows that, and he has to deal with this baby alone. And then his neighbour rings him up, this godmother to this kid. Or she eventually becomes the godmother, I guess. His neighbour rings him up and says, hey, you know, what is happening with the baby? And he makes it clear, of course, that the mother has left. The mother is no longer there. But, you know, she doesn't, like, call anyone. It's like, Sean Penn clearly can't deal with this. She just sends him back to his house with this baby with some instructions. And I'm like, I don't understand. You okay, first of all, that there should be alarm bells ringing, like, okay, I don't think this person can look after this kid because he is mentally challenged, like I said. But also, you know, like, the reason why this baby is crying and the advice you give him the advice is on, you know, feeding, because he doesn't know how to feed the baby. So surely, having witnessed that, you would be like, okay, I need to intervene here because I can't just send this baby back to this guy's apartment because he hasn't even been feeding it right. So what else is he not going to know? What if he, like, it just seems like a complete abdication of responsibility from this woman who's Sean Penn's neighbor. That was my first thing of like, what the fuck are you just gonna? And I mean, I know because I've seen the trailer before, of course, and I know that like Dakota Fanning is going to grow up with him. So I'm like, okay, this is how he can get away with raising his kid for 7 years. Just people apparently just don't intervene, even when it's very clear he can't feed the baby properly. So yeah, what do you think of that?
Yeah, it does seem like they kind of skip over a lot of stuff there, and definitely, it's bizarre, and obviously it's kind of like, it almost seems as if it wasn't even a challenge for him up until well, so it's kind of like it's a challenge for him right at the beginning with the baby, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to feed her. oh, no problem. And then the next 7 years seem to go by pretty easily, which is seems
let's talk about it.
kind of
because
ridiculous.
Of course, Sean Penn. I think he's a clear risk to this baby's health. I mean, that's been established by the fact that he can't feed her properly. So he has his mentally challenged buddies come over for video night, and I when I was watching that, when they all burst into the room, I was like, oh yeah, this movie just keeps getting better, doesn't it? And we have for some reason one of the mentally challenged people's mother at the door for no reason. I don't understand that, why she was there. She's never brought up again. Remember that, right? She's just gone.
Yes.
And so I was like, oh yeah, this is great, this stuff. And and apparently she must know that Sean Penn has a baby, and she and everyone else is like, oh yeah, that's fine. Like, I don't know, one of the mentally challenged people like, I know, we're your friends and all, and we have the same problems, but surely you I mean, I wouldn't be comfortable raising a baby. I don't know, maybe one of them could say that. It's just like, again, that's another set of people who are just fine with it and don't question this situation either.
Yeah, also I remember finding that scene weird because it kind of made them look a bit almost irresponsible and kind of careless, because they like the baby, like they kind of set up the fact that he's struggling to get the baby to go to sleep, and then he's just got the baby to go to sleep, and then like all his friends barge in. It's like, hey, how's it going? And like he kind of says like he says, oh, don't wake the baby up, but then he pretty quickly just kind of drops that, and it's like, oh, yeah, sure, let me show you the baby, and just it makes him like come across obviously not kind of maliciously, but
ignorant
as if like
of everything.
it's
okay, so then
yeah.
so okay, we already there's two scenes where two groups or different people should have intervened in this situation. Doesn't happen. Then we have this montage where Sean Penn brings his baby into work, into Starbucks, and first of all, the fact that he has to do that doesn't indicate that he should have the baby in the first place, regardless of his intellectual capacity. And secondly, everybody who he is working with is okay with that as well, just bringing the baby in, regardless of his intellectual capacity. But yeah, again, this theme reoccurs. Like, surely one of the people at his work would be like, hey, Sam, I don't know if you should have this baby. Like, clearly you can't look after it all the time because of your job. Also, you are mentally challenged. Like, we can't, you can't make coffee. Like, we just trust you to like sweep the floor. That's all you can do.
That should have been a line. It should have been like, it's okay now, but what about when she's old enough to drink coffee? What are you going to do then?
When she wants coffee, you're not going to be able to make that for her, are you?
Yeah. You're a disgrace.
That's the thing where it's like, oh yeah, this mentally challenged. Oh,
no, yeah.
Who's that? Oh yeah, that's Sam. Yeah, he's just with his baby. Yeah, he's mentally challenged. He can't look after her. He can't do anything. But he just has her attached to him all day.
Yeah. It's okay though. At least he's just carrying around very hot
liquid.
Exactly. And literally, like, he's like bumping into people, and I swear, like, he literally knocks over something with the baby. Like, he kind of turns, and it's like, that so easily could have been like, coffee being poured all over his newborn baby. And it's just like, it's being played for like laughs. Like,
nobody intervenes.
How goofy.
That's just how it is, That's just, oh yeah, that's Sam. He's fucking, this guy. He's got a baby strapped to him, just walking around bumping into stuff. Going, hello, I'm sorry. And just, no reason to intervene at all here. No reason to do anything about that. Okay, so somehow, he manages to keep this kid for 7 years. Somehow, on God's green earth, he manages to do it. And, he gets this stage where, Dakota Fanning basically asks questions about, why is he like this? Which would, why is he different to other daddies? Which, probably would happen. And basically, we then start to get into the central conflict of the movie, that Dakota Fanning is actually becoming smarter than Sean Penn. We have a scene where he's excited about his food more than she is, and, the scene where he likes the fact that the shoes light up. And, I was thinking, like, so that is the conflict. But then she has these scenes where she plays like with Sean Penn, and I was thinking, shit, you know what? Of course, there's some negatives. The fact that your dad might be mentally challenged, but also, wouldn't that be great to have like a parent with the same mental age as you? Like he wants to play with you all the time and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a 7-year-old in that situation, you're absolutely living, aren't you?
No, yeah, exactly. No, yeah, I think that probably that's what happened. Basically, it's kind of, it started off terrible with when she was a baby, and then it gradually got better and better. As she approached kind of, they approached equity, and now it's all downhill from there. So I guess that's kind of the bad side about it. If you've got a parent who's mentally handicapped, then obviously you've got like a a couple of years when you're on the same level as them, and then after that point, it's just going to be you're going to be frustrated with their tomfoolery.
Wow, with their tomfoolery. Wow, that's
Yes.
yeah.
I cannot sanction that. Wait, what is it that the guy said? I cannot sanction your buffoonery.
That was fucking Tommy Lee Jones talking to
Yeah.
Jim Carrey. That was it, and that's the line Dakota Fanning is going to say in a few years' time. We don't get to see that though, do we? So Sean Penn gets arrested then after a hooker tries to seduce him, and number one, like you say in your nitpick, I don't really know what he did wrong, but number two, here's the thing: he's clearly mentally challenged. I will say, like, it's clear he's, the officer arrests him, and he's like, how does the officer not be like, oh, okay, this guy.
Yeah, the cops don't really follow up at all.
I don't get how you're arresting him, and he's like, oh, this guy's got a learning disability. Okay, maybe I shouldn't arrest him for soliciting a hooker when he clearly didn't know what was happening. Unless cops like are used to this, like people pretending to be like mentally challenged when they get arrested, like they're doing those impressions to get out from being arrested. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I mean, to be fair, I bet it's not a bad strategy.
No, it's not. That gives me an idea. Yeah.
No,
I
yeah.
mean, look, maybe we should, if we ever end up in those situations or anybody else, maybe you should try it, see how it works. But yeah, maybe.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
That was more Forrest Gump.
But yeah.
Oh, actually, do you think maybe, because actually now I think about it, Sean Penn kind of reminds me of Forrest Gump.
We're going to get into that later, Michael. We're going to get into that later when talking about his performance. And of course, this coincides with Sean Penn being told by Dakota Fanning's teacher, or Lucy's teacher, that the teachers are concerned that Lucy has been held back at school. Since Sean Penn has the mental age of 7. But here's the thing: I don't know. It doesn't feel real, like that she would just get to the age of 8 and suddenly become smarter. That's what the movie's implying. Like, it's all good when she's 7, but then when she hits 8, well, suddenly she's above the mental age of you. So, yeah. It's not taking into account that, you can't actually tell what the exact mental age of Sean Penn is. He's probably around 7. And, Lucy, like, sometimes some 7-year-olds are a lot smarter than other 7-year-olds. That's just how it is. You know what I mean? So I just don't... Yeah, I don't know. It's like, suddenly when Lucy turns 8, well, now we need to intervene. And the thing is, like, the teachers talk about this, but they're never called into the actual court case, which I was expecting. Like, even though the teachers made clear, oh yeah, we think Lucy, they're never. Exactly. So it's just like, it's just this thing to reaffirm this narrative, but they could have at least like connected it to the overall point, But I don't know.
No, yeah, I agree.
But anyway, then the movie talks about that, and I can understand that as an obstacle, but then. Here's the thing, then this movie takes another direction where it implies like the main reason why Sean Penn should not be able to have Lucy anymore hinges on like embarrassment from that Lucy happens, or the fact that it might cause some awkward situations. Like, he gets more excited by lights on his shoes, and they like his or her friend calls him a retard, like, and it's like, oh yeah, that's okay, now things are getting serious because now Lucy's being embarrassed. And now her dad is acting like a and it's like that's why she needs a new dad. Again, it's just completely fucking contrived, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the only way like it works is that obviously that's the point where Lucy becomes a bit more frustrated with him, and because the thing's obviously what sets it up. And I found this kind of weird is. In fact, it's strange, actually. It's downright strange. The fact that all of this stuff has happened, but what actually leads to really him kind of getting in trouble. I mean, sure, there's kind of the fact that he grabs that little squirt, but the main thing is she says like she pretends that she's adopted. I mean, I don't know if that's like the main, but obviously that's like the thing which obviously causes him to get angry, and it's also something they go back to. And I think at one point, like that somebody says like, oh, she was angry at the birthday party, which she wasn't actually angry at the birthday party. She was kind of just awkward. So that was a bit weird. But yeah, basically that seems to be the focal point, not the fact that he was completely, failing to take care of the baby, or that, she's falling behind in her schooling. Obviously, the teachers don't even get brought into it. It seems to mostly be on the fact that, she said that, I'm adopted.
I mean, it seems that the legal narrative is it shouldn't, the legal narrative should not be like, oh yeah, like Lucy is getting embarrassed. Like that, I don't see that as a legal situation. It's brought up numerous times, and of course there's stronger arguments like the fact that Sean Penn doesn't have the mental capacity to be a parent. But yeah, it seems like a weird path to go down, and this movie kind of does go down. And yeah, also, where she refuses to learn because she doesn't want to get smarter than, her dad. I think that just seems quite, just bullshit, Michael, basically. I don't think kids that age have the emotional capacity either to think like that, especially when they're 7 years old. I think the scene with, Sean Penn telling Lucy to read, I like that. But just the concept of her doing that is just unrealistic to me. Like, I don't think that'd happen. But anyway, so we have, so again, I have to mention the scene, and it's more of the case of Lucy just getting embarrassed by her dad, where he takes Lucy to IHOP. Oh, sorry, this place which isn't IHOP. Do you remember that scene, Michael? Please tell me you do.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because obviously he always goes to IHOP every single Wednesday, and then he's upset because then it's funny because they set it up like a lot earlier. She's like, she wants to go to a different place, and he's like, oh, but IHOP is Wednesday.
Well, just go on a different
it's a good
day
scene.
I like.
That's kind of the weird thing about it.
Yeah, but I just like when he's demanding stuff from the waitress. Like, I couldn't watch it, man. When he's like, that's the thing, because that's not actually a mentally disabled person. That's Sean Penn.
I know. I know what actually would be great if this was also a kind of Borat style comedy, where some of the other people that weren't in on it, and they were just like, "Why is Sean Penn?"
But it's such an
but it's also. I mean, to be fair,
it's just like, God, why are you doing this, man? And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the waitress almost could have, like, basically when, like, Dakota Fanning, she almost saved the day by being like, saying basically crepes, and then and she was like, oh yeah, okay, that's fine, and then he went, French pancakes, and she was like. Then she should have just gone, but she was like, yeah, I'll get you your French pancakes, quotation marks. But instead, she had to like push forward. She was like, no, we don't have French pancakes, you moron. And then that's when and then Dakota Fanning's like, oh no, you don't want to get into a French pancake.
Yeah, and then we have the scene after where he's dressed as a beetle at the Halloween party, and all the kids just laugh at him. It's just, oh god. And yeah, of course, like I said, you have that kid making him fun of him earlier, calling him a retard. Lucy is getting embarrassed by her dad, and see, that's what I guess it's kind of used again as a legal reason to try and for him to lose custody, but I don't know how you could say that, like, oh yeah, she, like, a parent embarrasses their kid so they lose custody. It's just like not a path. I mean, that's the thing. It would make sense if Lucy if Lucy has this opinion, like, oh yeah, maybe I'm right, maybe I do need to move on from my dad, maybe if she thinks like that, but she as soon as she gets taken away, she wants to get back with her dad. So like all this stuff about she's getting embarrassed at the party, like because he's dressed as a beetle and he's dancing.
It's very fleeting.
It's just pointless. It just goes away immediately because you don't really get into her feelings. It's very, like we said, this is an exploration of how bad is it for a kid, or how does a kid deal with having a mentally challenged individual as their parent. It's just, I want, it's a custody battle, and so therefore the kid, from having these complicated feelings, or feelings that might be complicated about their parent, immediately it's like, no, I love you, I want to be with you, I don't care. So yeah, that's the direction the movie goes in, and it's worse for it. And of course, then you have the turning point, which is the surprise birthday party for Lucy. And God, Mike, I just sighed at this scene, like when the father of the fucking little kid pushes him onto the bouncy castle.
Yeah, imagine imagine,
get off my son. It's like, oh God, everyone's just such a monster to this guy.
Yeah, to be fair, like I was thinking that when I was watching, I was like, wow, that dad's overreacting. Like if a mentally challenged man was like kind of being a bit weird with my son, I'd be like, whoa. Calm down, mate, because I kind of understand that, he's, not firing on all cylinders. Yeah,
exactly.
So,
I'd be like, and he wasn't like, he wasn't.
I would be like, get off.
Push him onto the fucking bouncy.
Yeah. At his daughter's birthday party.
Like, oh my God.
And then he tries to play it off when she walks in. She just had to walk in at that exact moment, and he's like, happy birthday.
God. I just sighed. I was like, oh my God. Are you kidding me? It's just like, everybody has to be so mean to Sean Penn. Very realistic that somebody would be that fucking cruel to him. So anyway, social services decide to take Lucy away from Sean Penn. And, here's the thing. So the person from Child Protective Services says that Sean Penn, couldn't control his emotions. He was endangering other children, and he had mental delays. Yeah. And I'm like, well, yeah, but that was the case when Lucy was a baby. That's the thing. Well, basically, especially the endangering part, when he couldn't feed her properly.
Yeah.
So why the hell are you just taking her away now? Like, were you not aware of this? Because surely, like, somebody must have. Like, he has to. Think of what he has to do. He has to get like vaccinations. He has to, unless he's anti-vax.
Yeah.
he has to.
Yeah. No, he's a bit too smart to be
one.
anti-vax.
He has to like enter her into school. Like, he has to probably sign stuff. Like, he has to go through like the state system to some degree. If you have a kid, you're gonna have to do that. And surely at some point, someone down the line would have been like, okay, this guy has a mental capacity of, like it says in the movie, of a 7-year-old. I don't think it's so this is the only person that looks after this kid, right? And we're just okay with it. And I assume he would have messed up stuff because he messes up stuff throughout the entire movie. And yeah, I don't know how. Yeah, all that what she's saying is correct, but I don't get how you get to the age of 7 before all of a sudden this happens. And that's why the movie has to make this bullshit thing about, oh, now Dakota Fanning is getting smarter than him, so now it's the time to intervene, which I'll get onto later. But yeah, that's why it has to happen, I guess. Yeah,
it's kind of like they exaggerate the issues later on and downplay the issues earlier on in a way that's kind of it's a bit.
So yeah, Sean Penn hires Michelle Pfeiffer, and we'll talk about Michelle Pfeiffer's character later. And so then we go to the court appearance, and of course Michelle Pfeiffer says that line while defending Sean Penn. Every parent has that moment when they feel retarded. And I have to say, congratulations to whoever wrote that line, because that is one of the funniest lines I have ever heard. Just an incredible line, Michael. I hope you'll agree.
You know, it reminds me of in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where have you ever heard the donkey brain defense from
no, I haven't.
Okay, so basically it's during in an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, they have a massive court case over like whether or not Frank is responsible for something, and the defense is like, I think you'd agree somebody who did that would have to have donkey brains, but I have a certificate right here saying that Frank does not have donkey brains. It's kind of like, obviously it's not functionally the same, but it's just like the idea of somebody saying something completely absurd about
but this is a very expensive lawyer doing it. That's what makes it better.
It's so.
You know what? Yes, sometimes everyone does feel retarded. And the thing is, she doesn't even use the phrase like mentally challenged. Like, I don't think the word retarded had been used in that court up until that point, and she just says it. Like, and it's the way she says it as well. It's like, you feel retarded. Like, with real emphasis on the retard. Like, you feel retarded. It's like, what a great point I just made. Yeah, it's just so. Just an absolutely perfect line and delivery and the context of everything.
Yeah, it's just like, it's so funny because obviously, I mean, within the context of like courtroom dramas, you have these big moments from, obviously there's, in Philadelphia when Denzel Washington, I'm hoping right about that, is like, they broke the law. Obviously you have the classic, you can't handle the truth, everyone knows these iconic courtroom lines, or, lines that you get in these courtroom dramas, and right up there, at the top of the pyramid is makes you feel retarded. We all feel retarded.
You know what, Michael? What I'm going to do, I'm just going to play the line again. Are you ready?
Yes.
I've got to. Right, I think I've got the right point.
All you need is love.
What makes you think you can raise a 7-year-old?
Every parent has those moments.
A 10-year-old?
Moments where the task is so unbelievably
different.
challenging
A 13-year-old?
that you feel retarded.
A 6-year-old?
That you feel retarded.
That you feel retarded. It's so funny.
They put that line in the trailer as well to sell the movie.
They were so proud of it.
They were so proud of it. That you feel retarded. I think that's one of my favorite moments in any movie ever.
Yeah.
I think that actually might be. Just the obliviousness to this, Michael, the lack of self-awareness to do that. Incredible. So anyway, so then we get into the courtroom drama. And the courtroom drama, here's the thing about courtroom drama, it's always inherently kind of interesting. So that's the thing, like, if you're in a bad, or you're writing a bad movie, or you're involved in a bad movie, just add some court stuff. That I think that ultimately makes it interesting. Because, courtroom drama, I think, it's drama, isn't it? It's easy to to manufacture.
And also, I guess it's very easy to have your different sides kind of established. I mean, obviously, there's no other situation where you can literally just have the two characters kind of like state debate. Their place. Yeah,
debate and make fun, or not make fun, like point out the flaws in in each other's situations, and it's like a sport, two sides competing, so that's inherently exciting for the viewer as well, because like, oh, which side is going to win? I guess there's some automatic intrigue whenever a court scene happens, like we saw last week with Marriage Story as well. That was the thing. There was intrigue in that, because it's like, oh, who's going to win? Who's one side says this, but then another side fires back with this, and of course, because it's a movie, it's balanced. Not one side doesn't just absolutely dominate the other. And yeah, that was the thing with the court-appointed therapist. She had that son that OD'd, and Michelle Pfeiffer used it against her. But yeah, again, like she makes the correct point that every parent is scared of making mistakes, and every parent does. They ask, then they talk to that woman who was raised, and she's now a doctor, and was raised by a woman who was also mentally challenged. She had the IQ of 70, I believe.
Yes.
Which is just on the, of course, retarded was it has now become an insult. I'm not sure it's actually used in like medical professions anymore, but I believe that was the cutoff point. Like if your IQ was below 70, you were officially retarded. Yes,
I think I do know that, because it's in Family Guy.
Oh, is it Family Guy? That's where I got
in
it
the
from.
Classic episode Petarded. And I think it kind of became a meme after that, where people would like include because it's like him holding up an IQ chart. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's the thing, that word actually did come from. Do you remember that Black Eyed Peas song, Let's Get Retarded in Here?
Yeah. And it was changed in the radio to Let's Get It Started. Let's get it started in her.
Let's get retarded in her. That's the thing. The word. It became. Is it? Would you say it's like the N word for mentally disabled people? Like only they can call themselves retarded.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's always a difficult one, because obviously, I mean, the problem is with the whole retarded thing. Just to give a genuine take. I always remember I became a bit more cynical about this whole like, oh, retarded is a slur thing when I was on like a super lefty subreddit, and someone was like, oh, you shouldn't call people stupid, it's a slur. And it's kind of like, I guess there's a point at which you have to accept that it's kind of going to be impossible that being literally, mentally handicapped is it's always going to have to be like, it's never going to be a compliment. Let's just put it that way.
Well,
so obviously you shouldn't make fun of people for it, but I think it's just inevitable that if you say like you're being retarded.
Yeah, I think of the context.
Like,
the context of the world. The context of the word retard is worse than like moron or an idiot.
That's
the thing. Like, is it more offensive to call like someone who is intellectually disabled?
Is it worse to call someone or is it worse to call a normal person that? Just what do you think about spastic? Huh?
Oh, spastic. I think that has a connotation with people who have cerebral palsy.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, there's actually an episode of The Simpsons. I remember they've cut this out. I think they've kind of just cut it out. Well, they definitely cut it out in like the UK, which is there's a bit. It's one of the later seasons. Reverend Lovejoy is like fiddling with some notes for like a sermon. He drops it, and Homer literally just goes spaz. Like genuinely, it's like yeah. I think spastic seems meaner.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I guess so, because that's the thing. Like, yeah, when it's spastic, you're actually referring to the fact that cerebral palsy. That's your retard. If you just call someone, that could mean like, actually, we'll get onto that later when we talk about Sean Penn's performance. But it just like it's like an all-encompassing thing.
Yeah.
But
it's broader.
Yeah, again, that's the thing. With everything there is context. With every word there comes context. So yeah, basically, yeah, I didn't expect to have a discussion on the word retard, but I guess it's mentioned in the movie where you feel retarded. Like I guess it was inevitable since that line happened. But yeah, so Toby from The West Wing is making the point that Lucy can't be with Sean Penn because he kidnapped her, and that's all good and all. But I think have you seen The West Wing, by the way?
No.
So you won't know who I say when I say Toby from The West Wing.
No, I'm guessing it was kind of the prosecuting lawyer.
Yeah, the bald guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I can remember what he looks like.
Yeah, he's got no hair. He's got a beard.
Yeah. He looks like he'd kind of be like a sincere headmaster.
Yeah. Well, he was one of the people in the West Wing who owned people with liberal logic.
Oh, that's cool.
He bashed extreme right wingers and extreme left wingers. He was you couldn't get one past him. He knew everything about everything. Toby then asks questions about the godmother's father. And here's the thing, when she cries, like she turns around and cries. Remember that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I don't know why he did that because it had nothing to do with the case.
Yeah.
And it's just a question of he has to be portrayed as a dick when I think his overall main point is reasonable. You know, it's like the
Yeah.
case in like Marvel movies when it's like, oh yeah, this villain has a really good point, but you know he's being a
Yeah.
dick, so now he's the villain. You know, or
Yeah.
kind of any superhero movie. It's the same thing with this. It's like, oh yeah, he has to be a dick by asking about this person's father when it has nothing to do with the case, but to make him seem like a prick. So the court will also the prosecuting lawyer will look
Yeah.
bad. Yeah, that side will look bad. Even though again,
Actually, I tell you what, the entire trial seems like a bit of a mess. Like the amount of times people just sound like objection overall, and like literally, it seems like every single scene, it's just like somebody shouting something, another person saying objection, and it's like, yeah.
Anyway, so Sean Penn, of course, makes. Do you like that when he's making coffee for the first time at Starbucks?
Oh yeah,
And
he spills.
Yeah, he's doing it for the first time, and it's also the case that it's his first court appearance. Well, where he's on the stand. That's happening on the same day because of course it is.
More like of court it is.
Great, wonderful. So just great writing, and of course a wonderful coincidence as well. And Sean Penn spills coffee all over himself, because of course that was going to happen. Of course it's going. And that's the thing, like he's like if he. Like as Toby, I don't think Toby from West Wing ever makes this point, but like, yes, of course, like he spills coffee over him. Like the movie wants you to cheer him on. He's just literally he can't make coffee. Like he's spilling coffee all over himself, and you're asking him to take care of a child. Like that scene and with the scene where he's trying to fight for his kid back to back, it's just like so. It's so stupid. Because you see those scenes and like he literally can't do anything. Like he literally like this man should not be in charge of a kid. Well, that's what I think. But no, because then we get into the scene where he's on the stand and he has to defend himself, and Sean Penn makes the argument that he loves Lucy and Lucy belongs with him, and then Toby from West Wing makes the argument that Lucy, as Lucy gets more advanced, or as she gets more advanced than Sean Penn, he cannot be the father anymore, and I think, and that's the argument he makes, and he makes it alongside the argument that like Sean Penn is he can't like multiply, like, and that argument is legitimate, and I will go back to that again talking about at the end. But first, let's talk about the fact that he's talking about now that she's getting older than you, and that she's advancing beyond your age, you can't look after her properly. And again, I said before, like it's a stupid conflict for the movie to have. But it's a stupid legal argument as well, because here's the thing that I can't believe isn't brought up. Like he has already done like the hard work. Like surely the hardest age for a parent for a child is when the child is like like a baby.
The terrible twos.
Yeah, the terrible twos, like a baby or a toddler. Surely that's the worst. And Michelle Pfeiffer, by the way, she should have used that argument. Like, hey, he's already raised. Look how good she's doing. She's 7. Like, she's already like basically a third of the way
and things
through.
that they say like, oh, what about when she's 13? But it's kind of like when she's 13, it really doesn't matter how bad your parents are, as long as they're not like actively abusive in terms of like their competence. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, like, who cares? Like, if she's 13, like, and the argument is made like, are you going to have good discussions about her going through puberty? And someone else makes the good point, like, well, yeah, I get most fathers aren't probably good with that. So yeah, it's like but basically, the hard work is already done. Like that has already been done. So it doesn't. It seems so stupid. And again, Michelle Pfeiffer should use this argument. Like, look, he's already raised her to this age, and just completely own goal she misses. Which is surprising considering she's such an expensive lawyer and everything. But anyway, just the argument like, oh, now she's older than your mental age is it's so stupid. It's like something out of The Simpsons. How. They have these in Springfield. They have these like old laws, like some.
Oh yeah.
Like one of the lawyers like dusts down an old book that goes back to like the 19th century that says something. Wasn't there an episode on that, Michael?
Yeah, it was the Prohibition one.
What happened there?
Basically, he says, I checked the town charter. It turns out we've had a prohibition law since 1839.
Yeah.
And then later on, he's like, hold on, I checked more of the town charter. It turns out that same law was abolished in 1840. Yeah. And like that's how the episode ends.
Yeah.
There's also something about wearing pink fluffy pants. I remember that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. It's like it feels like a concept out of The Simpsons. Like a mentally challenged parent, can raise. I don't know why I want to do a Southern lawyer accent. You know, like
like kind of. I mean, there's also in The Simpsons when they have the evolution debate. There's a there's like the guy who's arguing against evolution's like, "Oh, hi there. I just hope that I do a good job defending." So I was like, "Oh," and then it's like, and against them is this liberal feminist lawyer, and she's like, "I'm from New York City," and like, boo.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna do a southern accent because I don't know. It feels like it fits with this law. Is, you know, like, oh yeah, a parent can raise their child right upon the age where the child can outwit and outsmart the parent. Then the state has to take them. I'm sorry, that's just the law. That's just how we do things around here. You know, it's just like, yes, when the child can beat the other or the parent at a game of chess, or then that is the age when we have to take them. That's how we judge it around here.
That's the way my grandpappy did it. That's the way his pappy did it before him.
Yeah, no,
by God, that's the way I'm going to do it.
Yeah, that's the thing, that law like feels like, it feels arbitrary. Like that. Yeah, it's just such a stupid contrived thing. And yeah, then of course Sean Penn blows it when he starts talking, or he starts quoting Kramer versus Kramer. It all falls apart. Toby from West Wing says that Lucy deserves more. And it is a horrible moment for Sean Penn, and you do feel sorry for him. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was the right call. Like, I've been saying this quite a lot, so this is a surprise to hear me say this. But yeah, it's completely right. Like, this guy should not be raising a kid. You can't believe you have to say that. But this movie acts like, oh, it's such a tragedy. It's like, no, he can't even make coffee. You just literally showed in the previous scene. Like, he couldn't make his some coffee without spilling it all over himself. Like, I know, it's an absolute miracle considering what we've seen in this movie, that Lucy has survived these 7 years without any injuries or, without, missing time off school for some reason or whatever. Like,
oh, hold a minute. You're reminding me of an episode of Family Guy where Peter gets his kids taken away for being, well, it's the same episode where he finds out that he's retarded.
Right.
And basically he's like, he gives this really impassioned plea to the judge, and the judge is like, "Are you kidding? You're a monster. You'd make a terrible parent. In fact, if I could, I would send you to a place where you will be kept away from other people for a length of time proportional to the severity of your crimes. Unfortunately, as far as I know, no such place exists." And then he bangs the gavel, and he's like, "Oh, damn it. By the way, it was prison you were thinking about." He's like, "Oh man, I already banged my gavel."
Yeah.
Good episode.
Yeah, no, it's to sound like a good episode, yeah. That's the thing, it's like, yes, absolutely. You agree, right? Absolutely, Sean Penn should not be allowed to take care of this kid.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like, as you also pointed out, it's more a case of, like, the last 8 years should have been the big focus.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's
that's the thing, it's like, well, yeah, it's, the best argument is like, well, what's the point in doing it now, really? That should be the defense. But yeah, like, it's like, well, he can't multiply 2 times 2. Like, he doesn't. How does he cook properly? How does he do that? How does he follow how does he fucking make stuff around the house or fix? Like, how does he do that? How does he function? Like, I think it is completely reasonable for him not to be a father of a kid. And yes, like, he shouldn't have been father for the last 7 years, but that doesn't mean in the future, just because he has been, 2 wrongs don't make a right, Michael. That's my interpretation of the situation, But anyway,
yeah.
So Lucy moves in with a foster parent, and she just keeps going back to Sean Penn. I mean, I just wouldn't the family make sure that the windows are closed? Like, it happens like 5 times.
Yeah, to be fair, maybe everyone's a terrible parent in this universe.
But of course, Laura Dern gives Lucy back to Sean Penn, and God, the sentimentality is just skin crawling in that scene. Just, oh God, it's just awful, man.
Yeah,
it's just awful. And yeah, then he gets Lucy back, even though we don't get that scene. And I think that's what happens, right? He just gets her back. That's apparently what happens, and she sees Laura Dern sometimes. I guess that's the arrangement. I want to see a sequel, Michael. Why Dakota Fanning is like an angsty teen. See the drama there. Anyway, no, he then of course the movie ends when he revs the soccer game, and I don't know how he gets to do that when one of his kids is on the pitch, like, and he's celebrating with the kid. Like, surely parents on the other side. Yeah, surely parents on the other side would be like, wait, what's going on here? This isn't fair. I mean, that's how I'd see it. Yeah. And so then the movie ends, even though, like, again, no, he should not have this kid. But anyway, so Michael, let's talk about Michelle Pfeiffer now. Are you ready to do that?
I would like to hear about Michelle Pfeiffer, Luke.
Okay, so Michelle Pfeiffer, she's this uptight lawyer who's, always stressed out and very busy. Very similar characteristics in a way to Laura Dern. Not completely, but in some ways, of course, more marriage story links. Like I said last week, Laura Dern feels like such a cliche, and this movie encapsulates why I felt that way. Because, a random movie from 20 years ago, some similar characteristics in that Laura Dern character and this Michelle Pfeiffer character. And she is, of course, initially hostile to him, but, she accepts... or him, I'm talking about Sean Penn, of course. She accepts Sean Penn because of peer pressure. And, she also has issues with her kid. She doesn't get to spend time with him as well. And this is from Wikipedia, which spells it out quite well. Rita Harrison, also known as, who is played by Michelle Pfeiffer, that's the character's name, of course, whose absorption in her work and neglect of her son reveal her to be at least as handicapped as Sam is. Okay, so that's where the retarded line comes in. She's just as retarded as Sam, you see. Although in a socially acceptable way. Yes, see, he's... I mean, look, I think, again, there's a bit of a difference. I don't think... Again, I think it's very hard to equate the two when, okay, she's not a good mother, or she's not a good mother as she should be, but, again, she doesn't have the age of a 7-year-old. It's not a case of socially acceptable. It's not a question of society changing their morals to allow Sam to be a kid. It's just a question of is he capable? Does he have the mental capacity to do that? I don't think it's a emancipation or liberation issue. Framing it like that. Anyway, as they work to secure Sam's rights, Sam helps Rita see her own life anew. This includes encouraging her to leave her philandering husband and repair her fractious relationship with her son. And just incredibly cliche. The magical Negro, Michael, is a trope. But Sean Penn is like a magical, mentally challenged person for Michelle Pfeiffer. Yeah. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, I do think that. It's kind of he brings in this little spark, and it's fixes things. And it's, it does feel especially very by the numbers, that whole relationship.
I've got more out of this than you. That's what she says. A magical mentally challenged person. That's a trope that hopefully will never come back. But is it even a trope? But it just feels quite similar, like I said, to the magical Negro trope in that respect. That's Michelle Pfeiffer's character, very simple. Now let's talk about the wacky group of mentally challenged people, Michael. That's the best way I can describe them. This wacky band of people who, here's the thing, they are the comic relief, but they are all mentally challenged. So you're meant to laugh at what they say, but at the same time, it's you're just laughing at people who have learning disabilities. That's the thing. It's isn't that a funny line? But wait, think about what this movie. Think about the tone. It's these people are just funny. They're meant. It's okay. I don't think it's hard to make mentally challenged people comic relief. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've got to. I think the best you can do is kind of have it be not so much a haha laughing, but more that's the best you can do.
But that's what that is. What
in that case, it's kind of it's sweet. Yeah, I think. Well, yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think it's look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, then.
It's not
look at these stupid
it's
idiots.
Look at them. When they all ask for balloons. And they all get balloons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this seems like the kind of film that your nana would laugh at. You'd be watching it.
But this thing, you're laughing at them. You're look at them. They like balloons, but they're 40 years.
Yeah, those of them in there.
But that's the thing. They're 40. But that's when the joke. That's the premise of or the concept of the joke. It's look, lol, they like balloons, but they're 40 years old. And I'm well, yeah, they're mentally. They're not actually. So the movie is presenting it as something funny and quirky, but again, it's they are actually that old. I mean, they are actually have that mental age of 7. So is it really something to point at and make fun of in your movie, even if you're trying to do it in a small way? And again, when it happens a bit later when one of the mentally challenged people says to Sean Penn, you need a personal injury lawyer because you've been personally injured.
Yes, I do remember that.
And
was...
the other, and you have the other autistic guy talking about Dustin Hoffman, and the guy with Down syndrome says, I was looking at the yellow pages and I found this, and again, I don't know, I feel like with that scene, it's okay, so on the one hand they like balloons, but on the other hand, one of them can look up in the yellow pages and find a good lawyer. I don't know if he had the capacity to do that, I have to say. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they've got like slightly different things going on, so
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe one of them's got a very specific thing where he can handle
looking at the
you know,
yellow
yeah.
pages, yeah. And then the scene where where they get the answering machine, and they all start doing the counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again,
Yeah.
it's something sweet to like laugh at, but again, like somebody actually wrote that. Somebody actually, let's have them do this. Like they're like the comic relief. Like that's the context of it. Somebody actually wrote that and had them do it. So it's a bit, it's like, oh, you can act like, oh, that's sweet, but these people didn't do it in real life. Someone wrote that for them. So I think that's where it's like, again, you're making fun of people. You're trying to do it in a sweet way, but I don't know if you should be doing that. And yeah, I think in the courtroom as well, you get more of that as well. When they're constantly talking on the sidelines. Like, I didn't know why a court would allow that. You just have
they like come in with like little placards. I don't know if that's considered within the proper order of the court.
And then Michelle Pfeiffer is asking them like, why is Sam a good parent? And they keep on talking about other irrelevant bullshit. That's the thing. Like, this movie is making fun of the fact that they aren't normal. Like, Michelle Pfeiffer's exasperated.
Yeah,
and it's like, haha, look at this. It's like, okay, that could happen in real life, but the fact is you're making fun of this, in your movie,
Yeah. It's kind of like, like the Joker's like, she has to tolerate them.
Yeah, or the Joker,
and all their nonsense.
Look at how stupid they are. Look at all the irrelevant things they're saying. And I'm like, yeah, but they are mentally, like you would expect them to say stuff like this. So yeah, unless in real life it could be funny or sweet, funny in a sweet way, like, look at what they're talking about. But again, somebody wrote this for them. Like, they didn't come up with this. That's what I go back to. So I think in some ways they're portrayed like this wacky group of mentally challenged people who are the comic relief. It's actually quite, if you actually think about it, like the structure of it, it's not that unoffensive, I'll say.
Yeah, it's not that woke. No,
it isn't that woke. And we'll get onto something else which maybe some people could say is offensive, is Sean Penn's portrayal of Sam in this movie, of a mentally challenged person. Now, Michael, to me, well, here's the thing. To me, it just does seem downright offensive.
Yeah, it's
like a character doing blackface. That's what it feels like, because Sean Penn isn't actually mentally retarded, but he's making these sounds, which I don't even want to make. I don't want to make the sound. I don't want to do an impression of him because it would sound offensive, but that's what he's doing throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, I felt, I was trying to do an impression, but even as I was doing the impression, was thinking, it feels wrong. But my excuse is I was just imitating this movie that,
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. If we were to imitate Sean Penn, we would be, that would be, I would feel bad doing that. Like, how did he not feel bad doing? Like, how did any of the crew, when Sean Penn was making those noises and go, I want to see Lucy. Like, I toned it down even for that when I was doing that impression. How did no one feel uncomfortable? Like, well, I think of that scene in the diner when Michelle Pfeiffer is sitting opposite Sean Penn, and he's Sean Penn, of course, because he's an actor. He's just doing this. He's doing this acting. How is Michelle Pfeiffer not thinking, oh my god, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, oh, this is so wrong. And I say it's like doing blackface because it's like, I don't know. I just think this is an area which you should probably stay away from. And of course, blackface has negative social connotations as well. That's why I compare it. And it's also ironic because, of course, of the movie Tropic Thunder, Michael. Do you know what happens in that movie?
Yeah. So, I know several things about it. Obviously, there's the Ben Stiller's character who plays,
So Ben Stiller plays an actor who, this actor in this universe played a character called Simple Jack.
Yes.
And Simple Jack was a full-on, as Robert Downey Jr. says, retard. And I only use that word because that's how Robert Downey Jr. describes it.
You never go full retard.
Yep. You went full retard, never go full retard. And, it makes a good point about how, the critics, they like performances which are just, a little bit retarded. Again, to use his crude terminology. But if you go full retard, well, no, that's too far. Then that's just uncomfortable to watch. And this is how again, you shouldn't really go retarded at all, to be honest. Again, using the terminology, but it definitely seems worse to be to go full on like Sean Penn does in this movie. What wouldn't you say?
Basically, I do agree with that. It does. Yeah, it seems too extreme. It seems to lack kind of subtlety. And obviously it's difficult because I can't speak to its kind of accuracy, but it definitely comes across as like a parody. And it really, I was thinking about Tropic Thunder actually when I was watching this to some extent. I was thinking, like, yeah, it does feel like just one of those scenes that's just, it's insane. And it's just like, and there's not really any kind of, there's no intelligence to it, I guess. Because I think, that there are films where, of course, you do have like men or actors or actresses who are not mentally, handicapped, but they are playing people who are, and it works because they kind of actually bring some subtlety and some, intelligence and some art to the performance. And this feels not like that at all. It just feels like a guy, doing an offensive impression, and certainly, an impression. If anyone else did this at any point in their lives, it would be considered far from kosher.
Far from kosher, yeah. It's just so uncomfortable to watch. I mean, you think of the context of it. This guy is being paid millions of dollars to act like this.
Yeah.
And then when you think about it that way, it does become like ironically funny. And that's what you have to. That's what you have to like as you look at that guy. It's like, no, that isn't somebody who is or severely autistic or whatever or has a mental disability. That's Sean Penn. This is a fully grown man and who's being paid millions of dollars. And this, this whole Hollywood production is doing this for Sean Penn. And I don't even want to do the impression. And there's this shot where Sean Penn and Lucy, or Dakota Fanning, are on the swing, and she says, "Daddy, do I look like you or Mommy?" And like it just hangs on Sean Penn's like gaping face, and then it's just and also, like I mentioned it in the trailer, when the kid says, "Why is your dad a retard?" and like it cuts to his face again, like I said, a gape, just like a gurning smile. It just feels so like I said, uncomfortable, offensive. But then you think about the overall concept, it does become funny, and I just think, again, like, what problem does Sean Penn have? Because you think about when Toby from The West Wing is talking about him, like his actual medical condition, he says like severely autistic and possible mental retardation, and he says that, and I'm like, again, I'm pretty sure like that's not a medical term. So what is Sean Penn's, what is his actual intellectual disability? Like, it's never actually said in the movie. And do you know what it reminds me of, Michael?
No.
It reminds me of the South Park episode of Special. It's called like Special Olympics, or when Cartman enters the Special Olympics. And I'll get a clip up right now of what it is.
Yeah. Hello there. Hello. I would like to sign my son up, please. Yeah. Oh, great. What's his name? Eric Cartman. Cartman! Yeah! Okay, age? He's 9. Okay, and what's his disability? He's retarded. No, I'm asking what his specific condition is. Down syndrome, cerebral palsy? Oh, I'm not sure. Sweetie, what is your condition? How should I know? I'm retarded. Yeah! I'll just leave that blank for now.
Yeah, beautiful. And that's what it reminds me. It's like he's just like a generic, as to use the crude phrase again, retard, because that's what people think. So where he does the face where he sticks his tongue out, and does those things with his hand, like that's not mentally. That's nothing to do with your mental capacity. The other people in his group don't do that. Like he honestly, out of all of them, like he seems like the worst. Like, he seems like the most mentally challenged of the bunch. So, yeah, again, it just feels, really, really bad. But you know what the incredible thing is, Michael? This is what I mentioned before with the Oscars. He actually got nominated for an Academy Award for this. Yes. An Academy Award nomination for Best Actor for this role, Sean Penn. He didn't win it like Tom Hanks won it for Forrest Gump. He didn't win it, but yeah. Again, this performance, it was mocked in Tropic Thunder. And yeah, you can't believe that this performance would net somebody a Best Actor nomination at the Oscars. Oh my God, can you imagine the because how sometimes they do like and the nominees are like, for example, Sean Penn, and it plays a clip of the movie. Oh God, that would have been I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah, I think back in the day they used to just do pictures, unfortunately.
Well, that's a shame. That's a
Yeah, I don't know when they started
That's a
introducing
damn shame,
clips.
because that would have been great. Anyway, so Sean Penn, even at the end of when he's doing like the last scene in the movie when he's playing soccer with them, like when he's like jumping around, it's just like how embarrassing for you. Oh God, this is the thing. Like you're laughing at him not just because not because of what he's playing, but because that is Sean Penn. Like, he's doing this, like, and he's like, it's a serious role, and it's just like, oh god, it's so, like I said, so embarrassing, and again, I think probably quite offensive. But anyway, Michael, let's talk about Dakota Fanning now, because this is her first movie, and just a quick word, I have to say, she is very good for someone who is 7. Yeah, I mean, again, I think she seems smarter than a 7-year-old would, but I mean, I can understand why she became a famous actress, because damn, she's really good. This might be one of the best child performances I've ever seen. It's just a shame it happens in this movie.
Yeah, it should have happened in The Cat in the Hat.
Oh, you know what? I'm thinking of another moment with Sean Penn when wait, you remember when he falls down the stairs? Like, he's running with the cake, he just trips. Like, that's the thing. It feels like a. Sorry to go back to me. It just feels like a parody.
It was so funny when he found the cake. Like, at the last minute, just he's like, oh.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It does feel like a parody, like a parody of a movie about intellectually disabled
You could
people.
easily like cut kind of like a fake trailer.
Well, that's how the trailer feels. The actual trailer feels like a fake trailer from a movie that's an actual parody. That's why it's so good.
It's so funny.
I know, it is. But anyway, Michael, lastly, just the technical aspects. There's a lot of camera movement in this movie. That's a staple, and it's just awful. Like, it's so disorientating and bad. And when he's
I didn't like it.
Yeah, when he's saying, like, I think Lucy deserves everything in that courtroom scene, he's saying that line. Jesus Christ, I couldn't believe it. The camera, like, cuts so much. Like, that is the worst piece of editing I've ever seen. Like, it was annoying how much it cut. Like, it cuts, like, to the side of him, then to the front of him, like, back and forth, and it's just like, why? Why are you doing this? Please, why? Oh, God. So, yeah, that's something I had to mention. I didn't think I would, but it just, like, all the sets as well, everything looks so cheap. Like, the technical production of this movie is not good.
Yeah, I thought that. Like, it kind of, I don't know, it's hard to say, but it kind of just looked, like, flat. And I just remember, like, seeing, like, everything looked very, sterile, and I was just like, it's just not nice to look at. And it's kind of like,
no, it ain't Parasite, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I Am Sam, there we go, Michael, there we go. Do you want to conclude first?
Yeah, okay, so this film, I mean, obviously there's the difficulty of this film of, like, as I pretty much said from the beginning, I don't consider it I don't remember exactly how I phrased it, but I basically said I don't consider it to be a good film, but it is kind of enjoyable to watch. To me, I don't really know what I can give it. I'm not one of those people who kind of really bumps films up for ironic enjoyment, but having said that, I do think this film is not completely joyless, and that's something I'm going to give it credit for. I think I'm possibly going to give it a 2, or maybe even a low 3, just for kind of being, just for that enjoyment factor. Again, I didn't bump it up too much, but I think I'm going to put this above Goal. Nah, that seems too... No. I'm going to put it above... I will put it above Goal. Why not? But below Roadhouse. So yeah, that's a low 3.
Okay,
but...
well, I have to say, nobody really cares, Michael.
I know.
I mean, look,
I care.
No, I care about the rating. I just don't care
if
it's above Roadhouse or Goal.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so a low 3. And, it could be a high 2.
Yeah.
Okay. If you can't guess from the fact it's a low 3.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for that clarification. I don't know why you just don't rate the movies like I do, but nevertheless, one of us has to be Sean Penn around here.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the thing, I can get away with saying that now, and you know what it means. Anyway, so I'm just going to read a few...
Hold on a minute, that's a literal dog whistle. You're a dog whistler, because it's like you're saying it and it's offensive, but I know what you mean.
Exactly, that's the beauty.
So yeah,
of it,
you should. Now eventually you're going to start doing that for like a race league. Like, looks like one of us has to be the I don't know, like Uncle Remus.
Okay, well I don't know about that. But anyway, on back to I Am Sam. I'm just going to read a few reviews about it, and I think these sum up my feelings quite well. I have to say, not often that the review section does, but this does. Not only does the manipulative I Am Sam oversimplify a complex issue, it drowns it in treacle. A.F. Scott of the New York Times also wrote that. I Am Sam is not a bad movie, and its intentions are unimpeachable, but its sentimentality is so relentless and its narrative so predictable that the life is very nearly squeezed out of it. And yes, that's how I feel as well. Like, the sentimentality is so over the top throughout the movie. It's maybe the most like fucking sentimental movie ever. Like the way it tries so desperately hard to make you cry and make you emotional. But thankfully, I'm a strong-willed individual, Michael, and I don't fall for that shit. You know, that's how I am. And yeah, again, the narrative is incredibly predictable as well. And yeah, the other thing about it being a complex issue, yes, it does try to intrigue. Like how the Wikipedia started. It's a melodrama. It very much is. Variety wrote, "Undone by its best intentions, I Am Sam is a especially insipid example of the Hollywood message movie." And Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times wrote that every device of the movie's art is designed to convince us Lucy must stay with Sam. But common sense makes it impossible to go the distance with the premise. Yes, I agree. Like everything in the movie is designed to make you feel, oh yeah, Lucy. I hope Sam. You know, I really hope that Sam gets Lucy. But then, again, no, he shouldn't. Like he should not get Lucy. Ebert also criticised the morality tale character of the movie, saying that you can't have heroes and villains when the wrong side is making the best sense. Again, I
like that.
Yeah, I feel like it was like, well, you know, actually, you know, the people, you know, I'm actually on the side of Toby from Westminster here. And yeah, again, he's a dick about it, but, you know, the movie portrays him as that. His actual position is the one that is correct, ultimately. So yeah, that's a very weird thing for a movie to try and do. Like, it tries so hard to get you on the side of Sean Penn. But yeah, definitely, you should not be on the side of Sean Penn. Every parent struggles is, I guess, the message, but love is the most important thing, and Sean Penn has that in abundance, you know, especially because he's mentally challenged. So you know they, Michael, you know they, all of them lot, or they'd love to love things, you know. They are exactly. So you know, he'd be a perfect parent. That's, I guess, the message. Just love is all you need, but of course, you know, you need somebody to actually have the mental capacity to just fucking make like how to just, can he times 2 by 2? It's like, just the hilarious, you know, this movie is treating this as a really serious issue, and it's just undercut with the fact that in its own dialogue, like, that point is made and it's never refuted by the people on the stand. Yes, and he, unfortunately, Michael, you know, a parent. You know, I'm not a parent, but I think a very crucial thing for a parent is to be able to look after the kid, and remember the point in the movie where the daughter lies to Sean Penn? It's like that. This is going to happen more and more when she just manipulates him and tricks him to get her own way. And just that's why, unfortunately, you know, you can't have a situation where maybe that's a good argument for why, you know, hey, once the kid gets smarter, then we need to take him away. That's the law. But we can't have the kid tricking the parent into feeding her ice cream every night. Like, oh yeah, you know, you hear the report in the newspaper? Like, ice cream is apparently really healthy, so you should get that.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, he seems like he would just give her ice cream anyway. I mean, he's taking her to like IHOP every single Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, yeah, so that's my review. Yeah, again, and of course, Sean Penn's portrayal, I find, again, I'm not offended by it, but it can be offensive. At the end of the day, I find it just funny because of the context of everything. But yeah, so Michael, I'm going to give this movie probably a 2.5 out of 10. I feel like that's fair. You know what? Actually, no, I'm going to give it a 2 because of the awful technical stuff as well. And yeah, the only reason it's not lower because I did enjoy it, especially again.
Yeah.
Every parent has those moments where you feel retarded. Is a line I shall never forget and I will always love. But anyway, Michael, what are we doing next week?
Well, next week we are doing, I don't really have any kind of segue from one film to the other, Robin Hood and the Prince of Thieves.
Yes, Robin Hood and the Prince of Thieves. That'll be the 30th anniversary of that. And we have been selecting on I Am Sam because of the 20-year anniversary. And yeah, which is better, Michael? This or Marriage Story? You know, similar movies.
They are actually, they are woefully similar.
I Am Sam crawled so Marriage Story could run. Okay, thank you for listening. See you next week for Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. You've been Michael.
I've been Michael.
Luke, and goodbye.
Goodbye.